Hi, I'm Jason Award from MakingStarWars.net, and this is Rob sliding under the door like Indiana Jones, getting his hat right as it's right as we start. I think that was the closest call we. No, that's baloney, buddy.
It's the Indy 5 logo as a hat. What are you talking about? Like, let's just say I love that Indy 5 logo because that is like so 1981. You know, like someone drew it by hand on paper and that's the logo. I love it.
Well, today when they put a number like 5, there is this feeling that you should be embarrassed about how creatively bankrupt your corporation and your peers are, that you're on the 5th one. Sylvester Stallone didn't go into Rocky 4 feeling good about himself on many levels, and neither did the culture. So when they put 5, it's just like, it's shameless. It's like, I don't care. It's Indiana Jones, and we're gonna make a truck ton of cash on it, so we don't care, which makes me laugh a lot. But yeah, so
I was ready. Just my dogs came in from the snow, and it's super. It's like, I don't know, like 4 inches of snow out there, and my schnauzer, he's just not used to it. So he's just like, he's stuck out I had to go out in the yard and get him and bring him in. It's hilarious.
It's like those little mastiffs in the Book of Boba Fett, a Star Wars show. Yeah, so I woke up very tired. I got another cup of coffee. I slept super weird because I drank like 3 cups of coffee last night to do the show, and I started getting tired at like 10 o'clock. And I was like, "What is this?" I'm used to being a night owl, but anyways. So I slept all weird from the caffeine, you know. So I woke up today though, got some more caffeine in me, and now I'm just a crackhead. I just feel like a crackhead right now. But
this is how I feel every day. When you're like, "Why are you grumpy, Rob?" I'm like, "Oh man, for some reason I have to stay up till 4 a.m. as an artist. I've tried."
Shut the door for me. Sorry, I left my door open, and my son just started rocking out in the front room. After texting me, "Dad, you're keeping me up last night. Now you are keeping me up, son." But anyways, yeah. So it's the next morning now. I watched it maybe 2 more times. I watched it like after the show. Watched it, did some stuff, put it back on, went to sleep, and so one thing I want to do is a victory lap on Mos Espa, because now I am convinced that the city has sprawled out into the pod race track. So I think I guessed that one correctly. And we figured, because when I watched it again with no children with me talking to me and all that kind of stuff. When the people come in, obviously everybody is announced, and it is said that the mayor is the mayor of Mos Espa, and so the mayor of Mos Espa is but the reason why I'm going right there, not only to do my victory lap, which I am doing on that one, is that it for my guess, I don't guess right a lot, so when I guess right once, I'm going to take it. Okay,
you got to take the wins if you're going to take the losses.
On Star Wars Santa's show, I did a Bad Batch card one time, got every single one wrong. So when I
remember that,
yeah.
So one time I tuned in. I love predictions. That's why I was like, let's do predictions.
Yeah, and then Santa did predictions this time too, and I meant to fill out the card, but I didn't get to it. So, oops.
I think bingo is the better thing than predictions, because predictions to me are like
bingo. He's doing Boba bingo this time, which is great.
I like. That's my favorite bit of Better Call Saul, when he's at the old folks home and he's got the Bob Barker mic, like the little with the long, and he's doing bingo. Like it's my favorite.
Yeah, if he does bingo for this next episode, for episode 2, I don't know if he does it for every episode, but if he does, I think we should get in on that if he's okay with it, and see where it goes. See, so one of the, I think number one, Iron Sheik tweeted out that episode 1. Chapter 1 can go F itself, which I disagree with, but I respect the Iron Sheik and his
more aggressive than the crime lord of the show, Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik's like, I'm fucking no friends with nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does not rule with respect, Iron Sheik.
No, he does. Iron Sheik does not. He'll make you humble. That's all I know. He'll make you humble.
Yeah.
Like Boba Fett is humble. Do you think Iron Sheik humbled Boba Fett? He seems pretty humble in this episode. But I think one of the dominant, I'm gonna say, at least in my experience of interneting around, the big thing is that everyone's like, by the end of the episode of the first episode of Mando, for instance, Boba, Grogu was on the horizon. Like there was already a trajectory for the character. And I feel like the mayor going into Boba's house and saying, "No, fuck you, pay me." That is the moment that I feel like overall was maybe handled too subtly in the episode. To me, it was like, "Oh shit, you don't do that." I got it, but I feel like collectively the internet is not rolling with the mafioso language here. That's not what you do. You know what I mean? It seems largely to be overlooked, and that is clearly the trajectory now. The fact that if this mobster did that, it means that Boba's going to probably have to essentially eradicate him. Now, there are leaks associated with this that appeared to be true. They were very, when I say shallow, I don't mean that as an insult. I mean like an extra from the TV show went on Reddit and was like, "Yeah, I was an extra, and we filmed two things, and Boba shows up with his Gamorreans to talk to a hammerhead, and then and all ended up being true. You couldn't have guessed it. You know what I mean, though? You couldn't have guessed that. And that they go to war, but then they have a reason to team up later on, and that's all the person knew. You know what I mean? So it still makes me think. I don't know what to think about the 4chan leak. I'm not entirely writing it off, but I also don't really like, the only thing that it has going for it at this point right now is we've seen a girl and he says Boba takes a girl under his wing. That doesn't, but also Robert Rodriguez.
No, well, they had the D. Bradley Bakers in that info. That's the real test of whether that info is right or not. Will there be 3 D. Bradley Bakers walking around? You know what I mean? Like, I'm being facetious. I know who plays them. But will there? But to be fair, he's got more screen time.
Rian Johansson in this conversation, though.
No. And so that'll be the testament to whether it was real or just guess, because that was the real new bit in that whole leak, was that info.
Well, actually, that was already going around during the Bad Batch. I just don't really feel like I don't remember exactly where it was coming from now, but I remember not feeling like it had any credibility. I don't remember not feeling like it was a convincing report on that stuff.
It's the only reason I can think of for them to show that planet Farfignugan.
Which one?
The Farfignugan, where he's from.
Oh, Geonosis. I mean, not Geonosis. Camino.
Yeah,
Camino.
The car planet.
Yeah,
he's from the car planet, and I'm like, to show that planet would imply seeing more clones later on. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's about him really wanting a glass of water.
Did they put a CGI Daniel Logan in the moment when he picks up his kid in the when he picks up his dad's helmet in the reflection?
Hard to say if that, or if they have footage that wasn't used from the original shot. I'm likely to think footage that wasn't used from the movie.
Yeah, because that was a strange moment in that it was like almost improving on a George Lucas shot. You know what I mean? And like and I like
he shot it and he didn't use it, which like the cynic in me goes, he shot it, didn't use it, because he does that all the time. Like, he does that. Like,
George Lucas. I don't know that reflection. I don't know, man. I'm just thinking about Lucas's style, and he really isn't a very reflective dude.
Could have been a second AD guy. Frank Marshall could have been on set that day. It's like, you know what, man, I'm gonna flex my arachnophobia here, you
Yeah.
know, and get you some real interesting shots. Well, this is why last night I was bringing up Breaking Bad and like Better Call Saul, because
El
it is
Camino.
a modern Western / gangster film wrapped around a human story, but it's still about a normal person becoming something they're not, or a normal person being like subjected to the world of like a very violent world. And I know some of the fans last night were like, "Rob, it's a space western cowboy." It's not. This is not a space western. Star Wars in general can be that. They're calling him a crime lord and a daimyo. You know what I mean? Like at this point, they said Godfather. They're going for criminal mafioso stuff, and I'm just like, what mafioso story? Can you just walk around like talking shit to the dude and demanding that he pay you and expect to like, you know, get away with it? At least Fennec says things like, "You want me to murder him?" And he's like, "Nah, let him go." So he just works for him. He's, you know, I'm like, I get it, you know, I get it, but like, I'm trying to like, we all know we've seen. How many of us have seen at least a season of Boardwalk Empire? Like when you take over an organization, you gotta clean all the houses. Everyone gets to fucking whatever in one fell swoop, you know?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think Boba, like, I think he knows that though.
He's been working with these for 20 years. He's a bounty. He's been working with.
Yeah, he's been working for this. So I think what he's doing is he's trying to show everyone that there's going to be kind of a just ruler here if you play ball with him. And so I think he's allowing him that before he goes balls out, as to not seem like a psychopath. But we've seen Boba, he does this and he goes, you know, and he goes all fucking crazy. So we know the mad dog gets turned on, the barbarian gets activated. And so I think in my opinion, it's going to hit a crescendo of him trying to be politician. By the end of it, I think he's just going to be dragging people out in the streets by their hair. That's what I think it's going to go that way. That is, and because I don't think that you can. I think it only being the first episode just doesn't give it enough time. Like they have to show a bit of the normality. People have to be able to make the offense. Like, and to go back to the Godfather thing right there, like in the Godfather, Michael Corleone doesn't want a war. The Godfather, not Michael. The Godfather doesn't want war. So they do
right, but he's been doing that job for the better part of 40, 50, 40 years at that point.
He knows it though. He's been working for these fools for his whole life. So I think he knows that. So I think he's doing the thing where he doesn't want war, knowing it's going to come anyway. But I think that once war's on, I think that's when we're going to see the brutal Boba Fett.
Tonally though, the problem I have with that theory, right? I would agree with you if we hadn't seen at least 2 episodes of Boba in The Mandalorian doing incredibly violent shit. Like with Robert Rodriguez directing, taking out all the stormtroopers, being like, he's not like, I'm gonna earn their respect. You know, he's got, like, he doesn't do anything. He drops the shockwave bomb on a fucking planet. You know, like he murders left and right, like brutal. We're like, that's the kind of Boba we need. That's the difference between Mando. Mando's a more subtler guy. Boba would brute force, and now he's like, no, not doing that. And it's like, no, Boba's the guy that he has a ship by now. He could just literally carpet bomb you if you wanted.
Well, I mean, there's like when I watched it like a second time, like for instance, I think like there are like action questions that you could just answer, like when all the shields go around him, why didn't he just rocket pack out of there?
Yeah.
And then he would have left Fennec in there, but he could have broken
when they went with the overhead, when they're around him and they're overhead, and the pack is like, it's in position, right? I was like, that's the one where he grabs her and heads up, you know what I mean, and flame throws down, you know what I mean, and it gets the high ground kind of shit. Maybe grappling hooks one of the dudes and then drags him up the building. You know what I mean? Like we got one. You know, we're gonna find out. You know, beat the interior. Like and then it drags to the rooftops. Like he has a rocket pack. I'm like, that's how they get on the rooftops, right? Like he'll fly on the rooftops, but
yeah.
no, she climbs, and he's like, don't hurt him.
Like I in no way am I trying to say I've worked for a mafia. So just to be clear, or the mob, but no, as a teenager, I worked for a group of Persian men, in one of my first jobs, and the way that they behaved before they would go fist fighting in the street, which they would do, by the way, it was very like I had to like they owned a bunch of liquor stores, and they would sell one, and then they would have me go and a couple of other employees and take all of the product out of the store. Like I'm pretty sure they were like, yeah, you could buy this, and the people thought they were going to get the inventory. Then the night before, we took all the cigarettes and beer out of the store. And then we did that a lot. That was like, you know what I mean? I was just doing my job. But anyways, those kinds of the dude who reminds me of that kind of temperament is that you let people hang themselves. And I just feel like that's what Boba's doing here. He's giving them rope to hang themselves. And
he's also showing how weak he is, because they, you know, he tells everyone how he's strong, but then they tase him and he's got to be carried out by the Gamorreans. And it's just like, that is a sign of weakness. And like, I get that they'll get around it and they'll show you, no, so you'd be improves upon it. But for a pilot, for a first in a long series of episodes, I just feel
you're not the first one to like say that. I don't see it in those terms. I see it way more respectful. I respect the guy who goes out in the street and fights for his own shit and gets taken out of the structure than Jabba the Hutt, who, you know, gets carried around on fucking floating pillows and shit. You know what I mean?
But like, we never really see. I mean, I guess maybe in the cartoon you watched them carried around on floating pillows.
Well, you know what I mean.
Of live action, I hear you.
No, the Flash Dance.
You also thought, Jason, that for certain they were going to re-show him killing Bib Fortuna so that they can explain how he took over. No, they're just assuming you've seen everything.
No, they actually.
You're assuming you know how he got in that Starlight Pit, that you saw Return of the Jedi. There's a lot of assumptions going into this, you know.
Well, yeah. When it comes to the Bib Fortuna thing, they did tell you. He straight up tells Flashdance, I'm the one who taking over for Bib Fortuna. But
then you're like, who's Bib Fortuna? Like, if you don't, you know, like a lot of people don't even know the name Bib Fortuna.
I think that's like one of those things where if you care, you care, though. Like I would have shown that opening again. I would, but at the same time, we still don't know that they won't either, because, for instance, we've seen in those trailers that he walks up to the Slave One for the first time again. We do see that in a flashback, I believe. So I think that we're going to see his whole life running parallel to the action throughout it, because the
name Book of Boba Fett is playing so far from what we've seen, 38 minutes, you know, 37 minutes, whatever. Is playing out more like it is a literal book with chapters. You know, like it says chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land, not the mafia. So my book is open, now it's closed. So, like, I don't know, man. Like, it seems like a lot of ideas so far to me that haven't coalesced yet. And that's not, look, sometimes a show that we love doesn't have the most perfect first season. I'm thinking Quantum Leap had a great first episode, and it has like several filler episodes until the very end, until it gets better the second and third season. Buffy was first season so, second season, wow, you know, like
I love Deadwood, but the first episode is the hardest thing for me to watch. It's not until I get to the second episode of Deadwood that I'm totally on board. You know what I mean? That I'm about it. The very first, like. And
but few TV shows get to go out and go, look, we're fucking this show. It's coming. You better 2 a.m. better be there, you know? Like, so when you're flexing that muscle too, it's like, all right, you know, let's see what you got.
But where I honestly think the actual true weakness of the premise lies is that they didn't give Boba Fett, and maybe they did, and we don't know yet, but from what we know, mafia stories are usually about family. Sometimes, like in the case of Goodfellas, it's like kind of built family and found family. But it is
specifically The Godfather, the one they
but
referenced.
The Godfather, is literally
family.
about family. Star Wars, which has so many Godfather pools, and George Lucas even worked on some of the Godfather. He edited some of that sequence when they kill everybody during the church sequence. All of that stuff. But anyways, Boba, like I think the fairest criticism is, Boba, what are you fighting for? And on the first episode, is if it's just respect or revenge. Well, revenge could even work, maybe. But if it's just respect and wanting to rule, it's like, okay, but it doesn't really help you connect to the viewer. Doesn't connect to that because your average viewer isn't a sociopath who wants to go and rule. You know what I mean? And so,
right. And we haven't seen anything from his character so far in the Mando or before, or even in this episode, where his dad is telling him something like, the only way to get respect in this world is, to be like the ruler of shit. Like there's the underlying personal motivation for him to do what he's doing. When we've already seen in another show, he could go anywhere he wants. He's got all of his shit now. He could do whatever he wants. So why did he go back to this one? Did someone kill all the Tusken Raiders and he's there to like avenge the Tusk? I don't know. Like I'm trying to figure out. That's why when that leak came out about the clones and stuff, I was like, well, maybe the clone thing is the family bit, right?
mm-hmm.
Like where, like they're like he's pulling them in a way, and they don't want to be pulled in, or they're trying to pull them out. Like I don't know. Like but right now it's like.
Yeah, if we find out he's running a home for wayward clones post Stormtrooper, then you're like, okay, I guess, but I don't think that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? That's not my. That's
like
not
his menagerie is all the clones.
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and like Scad or whatever her name probably is. She's clearly not like his biological daughter. She doesn't look like she's Maori. She looks like your standard hot white chick. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And so I don't expect that's going to be his daughter or something like that.
HWC. I'm trying to Schwick.
Standard hot white chick.
Standard Schwick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I think though what's going to happen is what we saw though is like Boba doesn't really have family. He doesn't really have anything when he goes into that pit. And when I think he's going to probably stay with the Tuskens for a couple of years. He probably, and I think that like what we're going to end up with is sort of like that part of the hero's journey where you go into the wilderness and then you have the return. And
the Tuskens wanted him to stay. They're like, roar, 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 roar. He's like, I can't stay. I can't get respect. Yeah. That scene would be hilarious. Like, okay, man, this isn't for me. My place is getting respect.
Yeah. So I'm pulling it up right now just to see if I could even try and do it a little bit of justice, But when it comes to like the hero's journey, like there's usually this part where like they go out into the wilderness, and but what is weird about it is like you have the call to adventure. Okay, so this stuff isn't applying. This isn't necessarily a mono myth, but I am looking at it to see if like for instance, so like usually you have the call to adventure, refusal of the call, supernatural aid, crossing the first threshold, and then belly of the well. And I feel like our departure with this one really begins with the belly of the well.
It doesn't go far enough. You got more time in the trash compactor scene in Star Wars. And look, Joseph Campbell, fucking Power Myth dude, Brain Burden.
But just wait, what?
No,
not
Power Myth,
Campbell.
the guy the
Bill Moyers?
Power Myth, Hero with 1,000 Faces. No, Bill Moyers, the guy.
Joseph Campbell.
That's Joseph Campbell. I
Yeah.
don't know why I didn't think it was Joseph Campbell. So Joseph Campbell would, specifically talked about the belly of the whale scene, and he goes how they kind of repeat it in Empire with the space slug, and then the first one, you get in the trash compactor. This to me is the real like like the Pinocchio moment where he gets trapped in that whale and it's horrendous, you know, like when he's inside it. And it's just like, there's a great chance here to do a horror tone, which I thought Rodriguez would have been smack down perfect for, you know, like, and it's just like, it doesn't go far enough there for me. Like, yeah, that's the place where I think the real hero's journey is there in the episode is in the Sarlacc. And I get people like, well, why is the Sarlacc? It's just, when, like I said, imagine, and I'd never had imagined this entire life, a bit where you're still alive, you're Quint, but you're in the belly of the fucking shark after you eat you.
Yeah.
And you're looking, you know, for out, and you see those teeth. Like, it's fucking terrifying. Well, and watching a guy be terrified and get the shit kicked out of him is the best way to empathize, especially in the 80s, dudes, you know, like kick the shit out of him. Like,
the thing about the belly of the whale motif, though, isn't so much about the experience of being in it as the vaginal like rebirth that happens when you exit it. It's the transformative qualities of what comes. So
you get even tighter, where like he's crawl, and then there's that breaking in the light where you see the visor right through the visor, and then the hand, you know, and it pull, you know, and it like there's just, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe this is also like a criticism I had of Battle Angel Alita, which I love. I know you people out there are going to be mad at me. Like, I have it in Blu-ray 3D. Is that it's very, that's why I used to say prequely, like where it's like everything's there, you know, and very rarely do we get inside the character and we're the person experiencing it. Like Rollerball to me was like, that should have been the moment, if you ever read the manga, where you're really in this moment and you're like, oh shit, now we're rollerballing kind of like thing, you know, like we're, and it's pulled back from, and I just don't know. He was, I don't know, like, if that's just because over the years he's changed in that way. Like, is that the Sin City effect? Like, or Sin City, you're not in a character's mind. You're not really Marv. You're kind of like put away from Marv, and you're looking at everything happening compositionally. You know, like this goes here, that goes here, this goes here. So I just, I look, Antoine was, who directed the episode with Boba, with Amando on the Sandcrawler?
Oh God. Yeah, I can't remember his name right now. He's great.
You're with Mando when he's on the side. Yeah. You're there. You're him, hanging off the side, and you're looking to the treads, and the dirt's kicking up, and you're like, "This shit, this is the speeding train." That's what I'm like. The mud thing, it works because not just because he's muddy, but because you're there. This thing's coming for me now. Like there's a transference that I think is very well executed.
What I think this episode, in a lot of ways, though, tells us is all of these people who go around saying, excuse me, J.J. Abrams, I have a petition. I have a petition, and it's that Star Wars is a Western, okay? Star Wars is a Western, J.J. Abrams. Like, those people, they don't like Westerns. They don't watch it, and whenever they see it, they say it's boring, because it kind of is. But this one right here, Rick Famuyiwa, thank you so much, dude, Joel. Joel always knows. Joel's our guy in the chair. Anyways, so I pulled up the part. So Belly of the Whale represents the final separation from the hero's known world and self. By entering this stage, the hero shows a willingness to undergo a metamorphosis. When first entering the stage, the hero may encounter a minor danger or setback, according to Campbell. The idea that the passage or the magical threshold is a transit into a sphere of rebirth is symbolized in the worldwide womb image of the Belly of the Whale. The hero, instead of conquering or concealing the power of the threshold, is swallowed into the unknown and would appear to have died. And I think that is the important part, is that he appears to have died. And so when he comes back, what we are seeing is a reborn Boba Fett, who is in a lot of ways trying to figure out who he is and questioning who he is. And so I think we're going to see him living with those Tuskens for a few years. You could just take the batteries out of my controller, Doug. He is Oculus Quest died. This is important, you guys. Sorry. Both of them died? Wow, dude. You are on a VR tirade. All right. Okay. Give me the batteries from the, this is a good battery. Okay. Anyways, Oh well, no, this one's dead. Give me the batteries out of my Xbox controller, and you can have those for now. Anyways, so I think Boba is going to go out there, and I think that we're going to kind of get sort of a spiritual almost journey with the Tuskens, where he's going to be tested and really taught to be a true warrior. And I think that if this stuff, I'm curious if they're going to put this in juxtaposition to Jango Fett, because all of the stuff with his father is telling him how to be a warrior. We assume that's what it feels like. And then but his father is killed. So we kind of end up with a with the do you need the other one? Batteries another one, or are you good? Yeah. Okay, give me the other one and I'll put the batteries in it. So but we might end up with sort of a Ricky Bobby situation, if you're not first, you're last. And it's not really, the dad just said that, it doesn't really mean very much. He never got the full instruction from his father, and now this person is living their life based off of half instruction, whether Django's good or not. And so
that's where having clones that would have been the difference in age, because they age older than him maybe, or whatever, like however that worked out.
Yeah,
there's a way they can make it up, they can lie, but they can have an older, more like he's talking to his father version. People who've seen way more kind of action sort of thing, who are from that era. Like there is a chance to have a surrogate father moment there, which, if it's not there, then I don't know where the family thing, other than they're going to be like, he has his own adopted family. And I'm like, no one's going to care about that. Like, just letting you know right now, it would take a miracle for everyone to get super like, that's amazing. It would be like, all right, that is what it is. But like the legacy is the fact that his father looks like him, right? Like they can give him some guidance. He's never had anyone really telling him where to go, or how to do it. Like, so,
well,
I don't know. Like, we'll see.
While I have this up, departure, the first act of the call to adventure always ends with the belly of the whale. That's the final step. Okay. And in step 2, initiation, you have the road of trials, which we are seeing Boba on his road of trials. He's making mistakes, also probably getting some wins at the same time. And number 7 is the meeting with the goddess. And I'm curious if when we met Flashdance, is that the start of it? You know what I'm saying? In essence. And
or is this another one where people use Joseph Campbell as like a story structure and don't do much with it? They just kind of go down the checklist. It's the worst part of Star Wars.
It could be.
Starts doing bits like that. You're like, yeah, I don't. And I could see why. Again, because Campbell has that little drawing of it in Hero of the Thousand Faces, and I could see like in the 70s when there was no like real guidance on what a script was. At that time. It was like, you just write the thing and then you make the thing and it's super. Someone's like, I gotta get all these crazy ideas down in a structure. That's a good drawing, but 40 years later, it's been played out, son. So I hope that it's something more than just, like she's like the character that's gonna help him for no reason thing. Or
it being Star Wars and it being the Underworld, I'm gonna assume that no one is your friend really. Kind of like
her acting was good.
Kind of like Star Wars fandom. No, I'm kidding. In this other dude, David Adams Leeming, he just has the second phase as Trial and Quest, Death, and Descent into the Underworld. Which really does kind of literally fit on this one, but anyways, yeah. And then, but when we get to third, we got the magical, we got refusal of the return, and then the magic flight. And I'm wondering if the magic flight is going to be the Rancor, and then anyways, but yeah. And then at the end is freedom to live, and so I'm curious if it ends up following the monomyth at all. It doesn't have to. You know what I mean? It really doesn't.
Would have been an interesting way to set up a killer 1 hour first episode, if he had managed to pull all of it off into one big, like, whoa, that was a fucking adventure. How long was that? 1 hour. Oh, that was only an hour. That was amazing. Like that. That's the thing. Like I'm just trying to like struggle. Like why did they only release this one episode and then make a big deal about they made the deal about how this was filled with spoilers? I know
Because they
what they're
want that
doing,
subscription,
but
keep
that's where I'm
controlling
like,
you.
fucking these guys, you can only do this every fucking time. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no, I'm with you. I honestly, I am. I feel like dropping the whole thing at once would have been better for me. But but I do like that we get to sort of take each part and dissect it over weeks. As doing what we do, that's great.
I think 2 episodes would, or one
I think 2
hour
episodes
long episode
would have been good.
better.
But in the big history, or in the big scope of things, it will all be sitting together, all to watch at one time, and it really is only a problem for a very liminal amount of time. You know what I mean? We end up just kind of like in this space for a very short time. 7 weeks, and then after that, it's completely an irrelevant issue. So but I noticed last night when it ended, when I knew that it wasn't going to be, I knew it was going to have some problems culturally. When my son said, "That's it," when it ended, he was expecting more too. He thought he should have got more out of it. He thought it was, that it wasn't enough. And that is the problem of having a hype train, building a hype train, or there just being any kind of hype at all, and then delivering 30 minutes. It doesn't live up to it. It's
Under
like,
promise
with me,
over deliver. I think they were trying to under promise with the promos, to be perfectly honest with you. But then they were like, no, there's a reason. Oh my God, the reason is just is not if you don't want to show the big whatever, but man, that climbing out the Starlight, since it's so minimal, that's the teaser. That's where that thing we all knew we wanted to, like, that's the eat, like, whoa. And then the people who remember Jedi, oh, that's the guy who, whoa, that, okay, what happens? And then, Boba Fett, oh, shit, that's the thing. Like, why were you hiding that? Unless it was a big sequence. It wasn't a big sequence. It's like,
no,
right.
There is always a chance they shot a ton, and in the editorial process, it just became what it became. I mean, that's possible. But yeah, there's a lot of weirdness there, but at the same time, whenever I am looking at him in the Sarlacc pit with the stormtrooper, and I'm like, when I see him in there, I'm like, there's something about it where I'm like, fuck, I've wondered about this since I was 3 years old. You know what I mean?
It's frightening. Yeah, it's like, I'm like, this is the good frightening. This is the shit where you're like, George would have been like, you don't really want to see it. I don't want to. That's we want it. It's I imagine 70s Spielberg pulling that off in a way too that is, frightening and cinematically epic. And if you're bringing in movie directors, one would think there'd be more of a sequence / cinematic flair to that. This feels like, no offense to Robert Rodriguez, but this feels like something Bryce Dallas Howard would have pulled off one episode in. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for the person who directed several fucking films.
So you're saying it feels like a young director to you, as opposed to,
it feels like a young director. It feels like Filoni's first or second. I mean, be honest, Filoni's second outing, pretty cinematic. Like, I'm seeing the artistry, the composition, the thing where Lucas says, hey, it's not about the dialogue, right? It's about, like, it could just play with music and like no talking. We're visually seeing things happen.
Yeah.
But maybe that's also a slight on the editing. I don't know, because there's some questionable editing in this episode as a whole, which I think is the general consensus. People are like, the pacing's weird. I'm like, that's an editing thing, and the script is, I say the script is 2.5 out of 5. The whole episode, I give it a solid 3. At peak moments, it hits 3.5 for me. Peak moments. There's only one visual effect that I actually question, and it's the shot where you see the interior palace for the first time, Jabba's palace, and it's like, that looks like a drawing with smoke just kind of rolled over it. Yeah. It doesn't look like, is that a flat image? Is that just the scene from Jedi? They rolled some smoke over it. Looks very imagey. I'm like, I don't know about that one, but the barge debris, all that stuff was very well done, you know, and the dog was very well done. So
Yeah. Johnny Sacco says, I'm ready to see someone else do Star Wars on TV. Jon Favreau just isn't for me. Bring on Deborah Chow and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want people in robes with laser swords. And that I think is what they're kind of up against all the time when they do anything. Like, that's one of the things about like Solo. At the time, I actually thought it was maybe smart project design across the board, was that you had Last Jedi. I said Last Jedi. There you go. Last Jedi. Phantom Menace is like, thank you for that. No, is that you had The Last Jedi, which was very fucking mystical, which was, you know what I mean, Rey on Octu for most of the movie. And then you had Solo, where you have none of that. And you had those things kind of sitting together. And I thought, like, you know, that's kind of collectively a smart way to go. But I do remember a lot of people who said, like, I liked Solo, but it lacked the Force. And it turns out that's what I'm about. I didn't really realize I was about the Force until I saw Solo: A Star Wars Story. That's when I realized I need that. I want that. And
Rogue One was smart in having a couple people in there that weren't Jedi but believed in it, right? The Donnie Yen and the other dude. That was the smart move. And setting a backdrop of like a Jedi planet where you see the giant statues and the
spirituality. So they're just being spirituality.
Which is the big difference between Star Wars and 99% of this other science fiction-y, spacey stuff. It's a fantasy stuff. I get it, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Is that there's not real spirituality in Star Trek. It's human, you know, pondering questions of belief and analogy and
sociology and anthropology more than it.
What we're talking about is the Kaneda, what's his name? Like the Tales of Power here, right?
Tales of Power, dude. Mos Kanata.
That's the little thing Lucas threw in there.
Yeah.
That he then walks back later when he tries to, with the, you know, there's a reason in the Chlorians, and you're like,
But also, I mean, the Tuscan Village is an opportunity for a Castaneda kind of character. You know what I mean? Boba might have one. There may be. I don't want to put too much on it. You know what I mean? Because I may be doing that. But you do literally have. I mean, what are it's the truth, so I'll just be honest. What are Native American tropes? What does your average white person think when they're dealing with Native Americans who they know nothing about? Oh, they're a very spiritual people. They can, if our little girl's having poltergeist activity, they'll hold our hands and we'll fly through the sky as a family together thanks to them. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's
to be fair, that was the sequel.
It was. But when he drinks the worm, oh shit!
Weird fucking movie, bro.
Yeah,
I saw it at a drive-in. It was so weird to me. It's like, what is this? It's so weird.
I saw all three of them.
If a preacher ever asks you to get into a cave, run.
God is in the holy temple, Rob.
Jesus Christ. I was never going to church. That's the one thing that did for me, was got me out of church quick.
Dude,
poltergeist too.
My ex, I went to like her family's gathering, and her grandfather looked like the fucking dude from Poltergeist 2. I was pretty creeped out the whole time. I was like, oh shit. I've mated with the granddaughter of the Poltergeist guy. Anyways, but he's dead. He'll probably haunt me now. Anyway, but anyways,
there's an episode of Rick and Morty waiting to happen.
But no, but anyways, when if they deal with Boba being out there for years, a couple of the things will have to kind of come out of that. I think a spiritual side of it is likely to happen. I mean, we see like the white settlers on Tatooine thinking that they're just savages. You know what I mean? Just putting it out there, which is very much like something you might see in some certain John Wayne movies, you know, and like how they're dealt with in The Searchers and stuff like that. And so that kind of spirit kind of makes sense. But they are Favreau tends to be dealing with more of a going native motif in the way that he deals with they're science fiction
Those are
Native
wolves.
Americans, and so there could be a shamanistic quality that comes about it that would be closer to Tales of Power, and he may have his moment where they send him out into the darkness to chase him off, and he finds a man. Like that kind of thing could happen, and it could hit on a spiritual bone. And if it doesn't, I think it's a missed opportunity.
If it's a missed opportunity, it's because this whole thing came from the fact that they dressed him up in Tuscan robes.
Mm-hmm.
They had a piece of concept art that they used as a cameo in an episode that became a thing, and then he got his armor, and now they have to go back and say, why was he in robes? Why did he have a gaffy stick? And it was really kind of a throwaway thing they did. Like they didn't really I don't think they sat around and figured all of it out. They're like, that'll look cool, and we can get to it later, or maybe we don't. I think it was just a cool visual that they're kind of like explaining. It doesn't mean however you get there, there's no way to do it. But if it's a mist, it's because they didn't really. How do I say this? You're not they. It's not like you were like, there's this thing I've always had this idea that he was out there. Like they're really into this thing, this idea. It's just like you're explaining it because we're going to explain why he was out there in robes, and we explained it there. That's the difference. So
yeah, I don't know. yeah, that's no, but I'm putting it on the screen because a lot of people have said that. A lot of people feel that way, and I feel like it's the opposite because he's getting his hands dirty. You know what I mean? I think it's quite the opposite. Now the perception, hi Benny, the perception is often that he should just be this bad, but it has to be more than that, or there's like nothing to like tell. There's just no story to tell if he just goes in and slaughters everybody and becomes the king.
Except no, but this is the story because they do this in gang stories, more gang stories than mobster stories, where you have someone who's more of a brute force person. They're really good at coming in, like Tuco, when Tuco takes over in Breaking Bad. They're really good at just murdering everybody. But when it comes to like anyone, no one has respect for him. The minute he dies, they let him die. They don't care. No one's there to have his back. Like that's the transference. Here, he's already going into like, no, I want the respect. The problem I said before is the 2 episodes of Mando he was in, he was brute force in it. He was the tank in those episodes. So like that Mando, I'm trying to line up with this mindset Mando because I don't get this mindset. I get this mindset Mando if we don't have those 2 episodes and we just have the gaffy stick who gets his armor back and now we're finding out who he is. I get that. But we just saw brute force tank Mando, Boba Fett. That's the problem. So.
Yeah, I keep wondering if Josiah says, I miss Gray Boba. The black outfit doesn't do it for me. And I'm kind of wondering if when all is said and done, if it will feel like Boba actually transcended into something else, or do we have him going, I gotta be me, and at the end I'm just a barbarian, and kind of going back essentially to his old bounty hunting thing by the end of it. You know what I mean? Does it end up being the misadventure of Boba Fett, or is this Boba Fett's ascension? But yeah, we'll have to see how that leak, if that leak has any credibility whatsoever, if it appears that it makes any sense at all as we move on. Because the first episode, there was nothing to validate it, so it's still like, okay,
amazing not. How much footage from the TV spots is not from this episode when they were adamant on saying everything was, and you're like, because it was like when you think of the theories, they're like, okay, we saw Scred, and Scred's on the bike, and that's because the whole place got wrecked by spoilers, right? And then that'll be the end of that episode, and he'll unleash, and you're like the whole thing, and you're like, no, like if that isn't till episode 3 or 4, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be if we don't see that by episode 3, I'm gonna be like, what the hell are we doing this for? Like this could have been told in a Mando season 3, like 1 episode Mando, 1 episode Boba, 1 episode, 2 episodes Mando, 1 episode Boba. Why is there 7 episodes of this? Like,
yeah, it is. I mean, Yeah, I'm not super jazzed about there being Mandalorian and Boba Fett on at the same time, this close together. In a big project layout, I would rather these things be kind of offsetting each other, so that way that is satiated always at one time. But this is like an either or aspect right now, and I don't know. I would have been fine with it just being all Boba or all Mando for what it is in terms of like guys with rocket packs. And then, but at the same time, though, for as smart as I did think it was to put Solo and the Last Jedi in order, in proximity to one another, they are putting Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi in proximity together in much the same way, just kind of inverted. You know what I mean? One's going to probably be ultra, spiritual, if you will, and then this one isn't. But we'll have to see how it plays out. I like something that Mark Hamilton said. Did it feel a bit off when Boba is on the chain with the Rhodian and is explaining how they should have escaped together? Boba wouldn't explain anything like that to any grunt. He just acts. See, I feel like two things in that moment that we were talking last night were like, why did they use that piece of driftwood? And I thought it was to show that it could get away, but also ultimately it was to show why he needed to choke the dog out and use the dog's tooth to cut the rope, which was pretty badass, by the way. I did like that. But the thing about it is that it like I don't know about how the way that Boba Fett has been depicted throughout time in comic books and novels has been massively, in my opinion, kind of just stupid and one note, even down to the War of the Bounty Hunters recently. It's just all he does is, I feel like all he does in those books is go, do you know who I am? And it's like, that's it. It's like, how do you write a complicated scene? You don't have to. You have Boba Fett say, do you know who I am? And then choke somebody out. But that is what I found interesting about this is nobody knows who the fuck he is. He hasn't said it and nobody's asked it. And I don't even know if the bar lady did Flashdance know who he was, and that's why she paid the money, or is she just like, hey, there's a new game in town, I'm going to pay it and get taken care of, and I'll play this sucker because I'm hot. I mean, that might have been what she's doing too in Star Wars, but I do where I'm going with it is that it Boba in a weird way was being rather a nice human in a way by going, hey, do you want to come with me? I can get us off world. We can help each other, knowing that he needs allies. And that may speak to where he's at now and with Fennec Shand, because like one of the things about old Boba, from what we know, he's largely by himself. As a child,
why did the Rhodian enjoy living outside tied to a chain in the fucking 1,000-degree fucking heat? I don't get any of this.
But
like, there's no incentive for them to be like dog food, sitting outside in the freezing. I mean, deserts get fucking cold and hot. Like, it's not, you don't want to be stuck outside. Like, I don't understand the motivations.
Trope. It's a Western trope. They're going to take white people and the natives are going to tie them up.
Okay, but why would you want to hang out there? That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not saying why would the Tuscans do that to. Why would the Rhodian be like, no, this is good?
Because it wasn't I don't think it was an ideal escape moment. It was a gamble in which they would likely die. And so it was like, do you want to take, is this the moment that you're going to roll the dice and try to get away from your captors? And Boba doesn't know how long that person's been there. That person could be completely like beat down, submissive, and I am, like that, like remember that one dude in Game of Thrones who becomes like pig meat or something. I don't remember what he called himself, but who just like all of a sudden is like, yeah, we don't really know. He doesn't know where he's at. So I think he was giving him a choice. Would you rather fight and maybe die, or would you rather live here and be, potentially be Tuscan food or whatever? We don't really know what they do with them. Like they kidnap Shmi, keep her tied up, and then she just dies. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's one of those things that's like kind of stupid in a way, but also just very true to form to what they do. I guess
subtitles would help.
I watched the episode with subtitles when I was going to bed because I didn't want to keep the kids up with my racket anymore than I had. And I watched it with subtitles, and boy, did it help though. It helped a lot. There was a couple of funny things that I noticed when I had the subtitles on. When the Jawas hit Boba and knock him out, that part that we liked, where they hit him with the gun, knock him out or whatever. At the end, they all crack up, and it says they laugh after they knock him out, which I appreciated. You know, it worked for me, but I think like with this show right now where it's at, like I'm on board. Like where it's going, I don't have like huge reservations about it. I don't feel like, oh man, I want to get off, or oh man, I don't think they're gonna go anywhere I care about. Like I don't have that. Like I with like the Bad Batch, for instance, which I do like, but it's the thing I'm going to beat up on because I think it's maybe the biggest missed opportunity of recent Star Wars that I could see, because there was so much good stuff in it that a lot of the times when it's lazy or just doesn't really do anything, it's a little bit
messed
frustrating.
Up the mind cart.
Messed up the mind cart. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, an exhilarating minecart moment would have really been fun, and we didn't get it.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always like it's like those cartoons. I feel like they're fun, but I feel like it's a fair and not Disneyland, and they treat it like that. Oh, you're only going to get so much fun at this fair. This isn't Disneyland.
Yeah, the local one that shows up to town after the parade. For some reason, your town had a parade. You don't know why. I remember my town would have this parade. I'm like, what is this parade for? Huh? Shriners come out in the golf carts, and then the fair's there. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's just a way to drum up local money. They know they lose money in the middle of the summer, so no one's tourisming to Lakeside, California.
Yeah, Stefan's all, I haven't watched the episode yet. Well, thank you for watching us first, but you should really go watch the episode. I still ask myself.
I want to go in with every possible complaint first before I,
You know what? I just feel like if I know what everybody dislikes, I'm going to like it a lot better. It's going to be easier to take it. I still ask myself if it was a good idea for Disney to make a second show with the main heroes kind of in the same armor outfit. I know it's Boba. Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I don't think it was a good idea. I think in the big picture, as we get down the road and these shows just exist, it won't matter. But right now, I do think that I'm curious if if the same people who went into Rogue One asking where Rey was or what happened to Rey, where's Finn and Poe Dameron, they may be watching this asking where Baby Yoda is. I don't know. It's possible. We'll have to see.
Or it's okay, like from their standpoint, the Lucasfilm, right, standpoint, the people who are telling video game developers, I don't know, lightsabers, can you do, bounty or hunters or just blasters, or like, I could see them saying, hey, the dudes with the helmets, they're bounty hunters, and they could be our next Jedi. We could do a bunch with this and not have to do all the saber stuff because, whatever, for whatever reason. And not realizing that people will get tired of seeing that over and over again because it feels like the same thing over and over again. Like, it's great when it's a whole planet full of these dudes might show up in the middle of the second movie and fight all the Jedi in a big sequence. That's one thing. It's another thing when you're like, I'm going to hinge 20 something plus hours of content on this over the course of several series and different actors wearing the armor. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think the average person can be like, I've seen this, 100 times. Imagine if the next 7 Marvel movies all involved different Spider-Mans, you will hear the feedback,
Yeah, I've gone Mando blind, like even well before this. Like just putting the armor on doesn't it would have gotten some mileage from me at one time, but now after Clone Wars, even after Siege of Mandalore and stuff like that, and all of that stuff, you just see so many Mandalorian stuff. I'm just like, somebody banned Star Wars in game. I'm kidding. He says, I like the episode, but I agree with Rob a lot. His points on this morning's video. Josiah says, just playing devil's advocate, why Boba would want to free the Rhodian too. Best way to survive a bear attack is to run faster than the other guy you're with. Also, yeah, I mean, you that could
It'd be
very well
funny if
be.
Boba had given him a name, yo, bait. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah,
some human thing. Like Boba's acting in a very tropish, one note way. And you can go, well, Boba's always been that way. Well, that's the point of making a series, to not do that anymore. You change the conversation in the way that the Clone Wars cartoon eventually changed the conversation about Attack on the Clones and the whole Clone Wars, which we all saw as a missed opportunity.
yeah.
Now, granted, it took them a few seasons. Right? Most people say by season 3.
Season 3 is.
I don't know if we have 3 seasons to get people to care anymore. The difference in television now, man, is people.
Oh,
television, bro. Do television? People are like, I want this thing now. The way we were more lenient on a movie that might take. Hey, Batman's just setting stuff up. In 6 more years, you'll find out. But TV, hey, you know,
our culture spent like 15 years going, hey, we're just gonna let them set up all these superheroes for 15 years, and trust me, it's gonna get good. No, they will never
Not
reboot.
anymore.
They will just keep going. I promise you this. And then we had years of just
watching them reboot Batman after they reboot Batman. While they're rebooting Batman has been my favorite. Like,
dude, as everybody knows, I mean, like, one of my musical obsessions is Nirvana. Like, I know everything about Nirvana. Fucking, it's my musical Star Wars practically. And they're basing Batman on Kurt Cobain. And I just can't, like, my friends all, hey, I got the bootleg of Spider-Man. You want to come over and watch it? And I just texted him back, is Spider-Man based on Billy Corgan? Because if not, nope. You know what I mean? It's just
so
like,
does that make Catwoman Courtney Love?
Yeah. It's so
and Robin's Dave Grohl, I guess.
But that's I mean, and maybe it's a great take, and when I see it, I'll be like, oh, it was smart. But right now I'm just like, this shit's tired. When we're having.
But if you go watch the movie and it's everything you've ever seen, just a little bit prettier, and you're like, well, the next story is really coming to the next one. People don't. They want it. They want, and it doesn't take much. I think the thing, and I'm not blaming Favreau. I don't know who. This is a committee thing. Lucasfilm has to take the rap because
this one is Favreau.
Okay.
Yeah,
this one's Favreau. Okay, this is like the Iron Man 2 Favreau. Right? Mando feels like Iron Man 1.
Ooh,
Iron Man 2, man. Where it's a bunch of stuff that the story group was also involved in that's supposed to set up all this other things. Yeah. So I'm not saying the whole series. I'm not saying it's an indictment. Yeah. I'm just saying this kind of stuff where we're going to place and seed. You're like, all right, man, but like you got to get now. It's not. I wasn't checking my watch. Okay, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't like when I watched them.
It wasn't tedious.
Yeah, wasn't tedious. It was just that. Don't cut it off at the water. Please don't cut it. He drinks the cup. I might they get it. They cut it off. Like, all right, okay, that's an episode. It's not the episode. Stranger in a Strange. Also invoking science fiction titles. You know, like I was like, are they gonna put Dunes in the title? Are they gonna put Dunes? Right. Like,
right.
Let's do the Dunes. Like,
yeah. Anyways, Peter Griffin says they should have gave Boba a broken arm or something. And that is something. Well, yeah, and that's what one of the things I think has sort of been misunderstood in the episode is that it, like, I think when his body is burned with the acid and post Sarlacc, I don't think he's supposed to be the tip top Boba with the spring in his step that we saw in Empire Strikes Back. But I think that is largely being overlooked. And so I think, though, that it, in a weird way, a broken arm may be a better visual cue than burning somebody with acid in a strange way. You know what I mean? It may be like
he also dragged him on his back, which I don't know if you guys know. Like, even if you're being dragged in clothes, it's super, it's hot, right? You ever just drag your leg against the floor?
Sand. It's coarse, it's rough, it gets everywhere. He has sand in his butt right now. Yeah,
And then he's just like, I'm just gonna run. Where are you gonna run to? Like when you're out in the middle of the Junlin Wastes, man, it's like, where are you running to?
my
Just run in
asshole
any
is
direction.
shaved.
You'll come back for the water. Like if he had just ran and then, you know what I mean? Like just stumbled right back into the camp because he can't survive out there and he needs them now. Like there's a whole, that's a trope, but it works too, you know, like
Yeah.
the survival, the water, the drinking, the getting out the pit, there's a survival thing here. And I just don't know. It's like, okay, when I say Favreau, like maybe he wasn't the best to write this. I'm thinking of the Netflix Daredevil series, which people generally love and I love.
Mm-hmm.
However, when they get to a courtroom scene, like when they put the Punisher on trial and they're actually in court, they needed to hire some people who've written some courtroom scenes before, because the in courtroom scene is just as bad as the fucking 2003 movie.
The Punisher objects.
Yeah, it's not good. It's like, this is not smart. Everything else is great. This is courtroom. You guys could have hired some Boston legal people, you know?
Yeah.
So like the survivalness of it, I feel like, man, if you could have got like a really good survival-y kind of writer, you know, like Navy SEAL, kind of like Foreign Legion dude or something.
Wait, SEAL, the pop star?
Yeah. And yeah.
All right.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
you love Batman forever.
SEAL.
You love Batman forever. You'll find
I
it.
love that music video, huh? Yeah, look, I'm telling you, the jokes don't all work, but it's a 4-quadrant film. It pleased audiences in a way that Batman Returns horrified audiences.
I was very conflicted. I was like, man, Nicole Kidman looks hot in this movie, but oh boy, are those lines grating. Ooh, you just killed it, Nicole Kidman.
Well, because it wasn't supposed to be Nicole Kidman, it's supposed to be Madonna, and then it makes a lot more sense, that kind of character, you know. It's her.
Yeah,
it's a whole bag of like competing egos on that film. I'm not even gonna try it. That whole film was a bag of competing egos. There's actually a strong, if you ever look at the concept art for Batman Forever, by the way, here's our tangent. It's Tangent Tuesday. Whatever is there was a retrofuturism to a lot of the concept art initially. Retrofuturism is like chrome spaceshipy stuff, where there's gonna be like this bronze chrome spaceshipy, and some of the original concept art for the Batmobiles were like rocket infused with these chrome looks. That is not like that Neon City shit you see.
Yeah, it sounds like the ambiguously gay duos car. What you're describing?
No, it would have been closer to the animated series, like with the more of like a 30s pulp thing. Which there's something that could have been there, but you know, you get a studio involved in fucking toys, and then there you go. So whatever. Marty McKay goes, it rocked a little, but come on, it's the first episode, bro. This is what the show's for. Like, this is what are we supposed to? You want me to talk
about how he starts it? Exactly, Jason. That's what I like to hear. No, I'm kidding.
You would have been absolutely fucked after being that Sarlacc, not to mention drink and drug withdrawals and STIs from Jawas withdrawals. STIs. Why does it burn when I pee?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I'm also gonna throw it out there that he probably got his dick burned off. Just worth considering. Right?
We see how he changed from, hold on, Star Wars Endgame goes, Boba had 5 years on Tatooine with Tuskens and who knows. I think we see how he changed from, you don't know who I am, to respect me, I just don't kill people in the flat. But he just does kill people in this Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know, like he left and right.
Okay, but I think you have to contextualize the character and those things. Boba doing a job and finishing a contract is different than Boba executing his own free will. When Boba
becoming the new crime lord has to be as ruthless as finishing a contract. If you're going to be the new Jabba the Hutt, like that's it.
What's going to happen? I think I see that's the thing is like when we deal with the morality of the concept, is there a moral crime lord? Now, not saying there's not codes. Sure, there can be a code, but in reality, he's not the superhero that he in his mind is going to be, or the good guy that he's going to be. He's going to be a fucking crime lord, and I think that's where it's going to go. I think it's going to have to be that he's going to have to accept that, and he probably has some notions of, I mean, God, I remember when I started my stupid Star Wars website, I used to think that I used to really hate all of the people in the ivory tower who never went on message boards and talked to people after they wrote their articles or hung out and acted like they were too good. And then after a little time, boy, did I learn that it's a different reality, that things are a lot different than that. I still like the idea of that, but the reality is much different. And I think that's what Boba's at. I think Boba is in this ideal phase right now, but reality is coming at him because right now he's fought some fucking space ninjas in the street. Nothing real is happening. He hasn't woken up with a
but visually. Let's talk about things visually.
Yeah.
Let's talk about things visual that I thought were cool because I know it could turn into a bitch fest. It's not a bitch fest. Like the robot, the Matt Berry robot, when they shoot and there's this little depth of field to his eyes and stuff.
Who's Matt Berry?
Huh?
Who's Matt Berry?
What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
Jackie Daytona.
Okay.
Dash Rendar. He could still be Dash Rendar. Just because he's in droid form. He's not in human form.
Right.
I want him to be Dash Rendar so bad, dude. like if you ever had a jokey Han Solo character, Matt Berry as Dash Rendar is the fucking
mine was Michael Biehn. In my head, by the way. My Dash Rendar.
But they did Michael Biehn. Right.
But young Michael.
But that's the serious. If you were gonna have a serious Dash Rendar, I think Dash Rendar should be like a cocksure goof, like a guy who's way confident in himself, but like not your typical hero looking thing. But that's fine. Michael Bihn's great. Should never have killed Michael Biehn, guys.
That was stupid.
My only real complaint about that whole season was like, why did you kill Michael Biehn? He's brilliant, and he would be brilliant in this setting. So visually, though, like the mat work is great. Surprisingly, like on the city when they're on the rooftops. I mean, yeah, it looks. I can see the segundo, but the work is really quite good. The
it's really good.
And yeah, it's really good. The acid wash thing I like. I just wish all the flashback scenes had it the whole time. I don't get the point of he's phasing in and out. I get it, but it'd be nice if flashbacks were in the 80s film stock. Like you have the opportunity to do something creatively there, texturally. That I like the look of it. Some people don't, but I do.
Probably has to do with the fact that they're going to have to use the volume, most likely. All of the work
and project it,
and all of the
But they can do it in post, right? You can just take the
volume
footage.
I mean, you could. Yeah, they did add that weird effect at one point. I don't remember what part it was now. There's this part where this like weird little thing comes on. So yeah.
But what I like about all that is that for the longest time we were told Star Wars doesn't have flashbacks. It'll never have flash. I'm like, what are these rules you come up with Star Wars? Like it doesn't have. And now it's like, no, we can do a whole episode where I thought the wipes were really nice and weren't in your facey wipes. Like they were really blended through and went through without being like shunk, shunk, which I really felt. I don't know, was it Mando or Rise of Skywalker? There's one of them where I was like, these wipes are like right in my fucking face. Like
it is the use of, or the wipes and stuff like that is kind of, it really is dead. It did go away for a reason, and they use it. George Lucas used it stylistically, and I feel like sometimes it's just used traditionally in Star Wars, and I don't know if that's always wise. I'm a new traditionalist myself. Marty McKay says, I feel Boba is playing a little dumb now, just to draw out the intentions of others. And that's what I was saying. I think he's giving people the rope to hang themselves with. And but maybe he's just dumb. We'll have to see how it plays out over several episodes to know for sure. Caleb says, me and my dad are seriously disagreeing on the format of these Star Wars shows. I'm fine with 30 to 50 minute episodes with a total of 6 to 10 episodes. My dad is old school, 20 episodes, an hour each.
No show did 20 episodes an hour each. That wasn't like fucking Boston Legal, where they're just sitting in a room.
In a courtroom. Courtroom.
Quantum Leap wasn't 20 episodes. Like I think eventually it hit that, but the first season was like 12. And even then, those are 40-minute long episodes. They're not an hour. And this is expensive to produce. You need to tell your dad, Star Wars is hard. It's not, look, I like Marvel, but you can just have some characters in a room in New York talking for 25 minutes in a Marvel show. Star Wars, everything has to be constructed. Everything has to be constructed. And when it isn't, when they just shoot in a forest, people go, it's just a forest. It's fucking dumb. Hard Star Wars is hard to make. I'm not even going to pretend. When you want to see When you want to see Star Wars done on a budget, go rewatch Let's Plays of Rebel Assault. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you don't want that. Yeah, it's super tough to make.
Yeah, I this is just me, and like whatever you like. Like I enjoyed like Farscape, right? I do enjoy it. When people talk about Babylon 5, my fucking eyes just like glaze over, like, oh, you fucking dork. Yeah, I like Farscape. I can't do that. What am I? Who do I think I am? But that's where my mind goes. And I would rather have quantity, brevity, and quality over a lot. But at the same time, if they were able to, I mean, when you look at what we've got collectively throughout all of the TV Star Wars right now, we are around 20 episodes. We're probably going to end up around 24 episodes when all is said and done with this season of 24, 25 episodes. There would just be no way to give us the quality.
Collectively, not in a,
yeah, I mean, Mando season 1 and 2 is 16, and then we're going to have 7 episodes of this. And
that's 2 years over a 2-year period right there. So we're talking about when you load up the season, you're getting...
That's what I'm saying.
6 or
all of this would have to have been Mando season 1 to have been operating at the level of quality that we have, and that is just impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, you can't do Mando season 1, 2, and Book of Boba Fett for one season. Like, that is, there's no, you know how expensive that would be, and you wouldn't see it on screen in any particular episode because it's stretched out over 20. Like, that is the thing too. When I go, oh, it'd be great for a great sequence, I can see the producer, on Mando going, yo, money bags. You know what I mean? Like, every episode can't have that's why when some people complained on Falcon and in Hawkeye, well, there's only one big sequence. I'm like, that's the trick. Actually, I like that there's only one big sequence. There should only be one big sequence. That we can all agree that sometimes the movies are overstuffed, right? With sequences. This is the opportunity to have one really good sequence. Here's the problem when they don't make use of their one big sequence.
Yeah.
So their sequence is yet to come up. The big Mando sequence, which we have all rumored, and we think we know what it is. I think we've seen, it's probably true. That better be the sequence, Otherwise, I'd like the Kraken, the Desert Kraken. Also reminded me of there's a creature in Dragon Quest. Like, if you play Dragon Quest 8, these mer creatures, like my crystal ball, like they which borrows from the Clash of the Titans.
I love that monster. I mean, like, there was the Nos monster was cut from episode 3, and I want that Nos monster back in. If George Lucas was going to do anything, I wish that was one of the things he had done with the prequels, was throwing the Nos monster back in. Did use the Nos monster in the Jar Jar episode of the Clone Wars, though, so I did appreciate that. I think that was the episode. But anyways, I love that, like, fighting monsters and that kind of thing. Like, I'm a Rancor kid. I loved it. I love that kind of stuff, and I appreciate it in the episodes the way it was used here. I love that episode of Mando with that giant spider. Pretty rad. Love that giant spider. But organizationally speaking, I don't like that the episode is kind of in some ways about the giant spider. I like how this was done here actually better. If I was to contrast,
if it was tied to saving Grogu, I mean, they put the egg chick in there and saving the eggs, but then Grogu eats the egg, so it's funny. It's like, it's not the point of that. Like,
it's not. He eats some of the infertile ones. Is what we're gonna say.
Okay, sure.
It's like I said, the episode's not a throwaway. I like the episode, the spider. It was fun and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate it being where in Star Wars you may walk around a corner and then end up fighting a 10-foot claymation monster. Like, I
would never want to wake up in the Star Wars universe. People go, I'd love to be in Star Wars. That is it's a nightmare. Star Wars is a nightmare to wake up into. The nicest place ever got blowed up in one fell swoop. And it's so nice we never hang out there, because it wouldn't feel like Star Wars.
Like, in the first hour of the first movie they ever made, they blew that shit up.
Even Naboo's peaceful. What do you mean it's peaceful? The minute you leave a city, a fish is eating a bigger fish. Every 3 fucking seconds, something's eating you. I don't want to live in Star Wars. It's horrible.
He goes on to say that
I want to live in 60 Star Trek. That's the nice fucking, or the Next Generation Star Trek is probably the nicest version.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got replicators and holodecks, like I'm good.
I want to hang out with that one lady who's like the empath. Yeah, I want to hang out with her in the Star Trek. That's what I would have done.
Oh,
a record beard
girl looked just like her. Yeah.
Nice. Good work. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
the problem is we're both A types. So
yeah.
so one had to give. And I was like, we'll end up. This will be War of the Roses if you've ever seen that movie. I need to walk away now. But yeah, I know. Yeah. Stunning woman.
Caleb says, I think his father, he really criticizes Jon Favreau. He says early episodes of a season are really slow and it's boring to watch. And then the later episodes move at a breakneck pace and it's hard to follow. But he had a stroke, so he can't really follow much. I'm always having to explain stuff to him, which I don't mind. I love explaining Star Wars and Marvel. I add in background info when he forgets. Yeah, my father didn't have a stroke or anything. Not thankful. Actually, he kind of did. But anyways, but yeah, I mean, I had to do that with my dad too. And it's one of those things where on one hand you both appreciate the family time together of yeah, like we do this thing together and I explain it to him and whatever, but on the other hand, you're like, why can't you keep up with me? There is
that's also the fallacy of, and the trouble with reviewing single episodes.
Yeah.
Because TV shows really these days, when it's the Quantum Leap, and it's a self-contained episode that is leading into another self-contained episode, leading into another self-contained episode that follows a basic premise, that's one thing. Because you can say, how well did they do that little trick this time? How well did they do that trick that time? These now are more serialized adventures that carry over the course of a season. So one has to then review the thing as a totality. But we're fans, so now we have to talk about every episode. So,
what I would say, and what I always say, and I'm going to say add a new part to it as well. The first thing is, when I was a kid, I saw Return of the Jedi, and then I didn't see anything else until I was 18 years old. Anything new, truly new, until I was 18 years old. So them giving me
really?
7
Big
weeks.
Trouble in Little China wasn't truly new for you?
No, I mean Star Wars. There was no Star Wars.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant just like in cinema.
Special editions came out, whatever. But you know what I mean? But it's like I had to wait to get like a new true Star Wars story until I was about 18 years old. And it's like, holy cow, man, that sucks. And so when I'm getting 40 minutes or whatever, 37 minutes or whatever of Boba Fett coming out of a Sarlacc pit, I have no fucking complaints. And it's not awful. So right there, I'm just like, thank you, Jesus, you did it. You know what I mean?
Something they have the space to take it a little bit further than you would in a movie, so it's just, that's the thing. Like, it's not terribly expensive to conjure up a dramatic, stagey kind of like, emotional moment there when TV's sort of designed for that beyond the big spectacle. Like and I wonder sometimes if maybe the film director guys get that or they don't. Because I think that's where Filoni really nailed it on his second episode. That fight between Ahsoka and the other shit like that, the time it took and the way I was like, that's an animation setup, right? Like very something you do in animation. And
what's her name? Eldra's.
I don't remember the villain's name in that film, that episode, bro.
It's like Morris Death. Schmegel.
Filoni names, man. I'm just telling you. Like I don't know.
Elsbeth.
Yeah.
Corky. Yeah. Quacker. I don't know. but the final thing I was going to add was, always remember, it wasn't the Matrix 4. Just remember that. Whenever you think Star Wars has let me down, ask yourself, was it the Matrix 4? And then you'll say, oh, thanks,
was it the Rise of Skywalker?
Pretty cool, man. Hey, forgive me for Iron Man 2. Keep it up, buddy. Also, love the hair.
Everyone, look, when I say this reminds me of Iron Man, what I'm saying is, as artists, we all have wins and fails, right? Yeah. I think his biggest fail is Cowboys versus Aliens. And not because it was bad. It wasn't that premise, that trailer. We're like, man, this could be fucking really dope, right? Yeah. Like this and it just didn't live up to its own promise. And there's a lot of reasons for that. If you ever check out the making of the every producer and Favreau all had a different idea of what this was. Like no one had a shared vision for what that project was
It was
supposed to be.
no
So it's
elf.
like,
It was no elf.
right. But he has, what I like about Favreau though is he has range. He can make a Zathura, he can make an elf, he can make an Iron Man, he can make Iron Man too.
He stared me down and then smiled and waved at me.
You can make a chef.
Dynamic man.
So,
a dynamic man. I agree. I agree with you though. I do.
You know,
I mean, like
that range is what you need when you're running Star Wars, because Star Wars has such it's Americana. It's that mashup of different things put together. I seen some complaints. I think a Hollywood Reporter wrote a review this morning where they were like, "Why is he being called a daimyo? They're mashing up cultures." I'm like, bro, that is fucking Americana. Like, in the minute you step into that territory, you know, like, I don't know what do you think Westerns are just all about? What, you know, like, you don't know about Mexican vaqueros, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know about.
I'm
confused
like,
by that.
One of the places that I kind of draw my people can be clowns and do wrong things, but people like to throw around cultural appropriation, and it's like, sorry, but Americana, once again, we are, you could say we don't, people will say Americans don't have a culture. They do, and it's an amalgamation of things, and it's kind of what makes us, I think, great in a lot of ways. And there is a difference between taking somebody's like religious stuff and then turning it into, you know,
monetizing the shit out of it to exploit it. What we're talking about is cultural exploitation is not the same thing as being respectful to different ideas and cultures and merging them into a fantasy so that way you can relate to it in some way.
Yeah.
You know, like that is, I know, like that, but that's the thing where I get confused and people like, what do you think Star Wars is? Like, but having directors that have that range, I will say, I don't think Robert Rodriguez has a lot of range. And so the range, but that's fine. When I was like, well, Boba's, if it's going to be a mean, he said it's going to be nonstop fucking the most brutal action ever. I mean, Robert Rodriguez said this. Like,
but we're not there yet. We might not be there yet. Yeah, we're not there yet. No. But I don't think it was ever going to be like, I mean,
him fighting or crawling out that fucking beak and then hacking it and cutting its thing off and then the tentacles are coming at him. Like, he could have turned that into Boba Fett versus the Thing in the desert. You know, like, that is where he could have got one of those big action moments that didn't require a ton of money. It's just you sequence the shit out of it, you know? Like, that's, I mean, a horror story, monster battle, like that. What a wasted opportunity. I mean, they could go back and do it. You can always go back and do it, but
yeah, I mean, like we won't really know until we get to the next episodes where it's going to go. Like, man, I gotta say, in terms of as a 16-year-old, me and my friend went and saw From Dusk Till Dawn. We left the movie theater wanting to get into a fight. I never wanted to get into a fight my whole life. I was like, I'm ready to fight. Yeah. I was on a dopamine.
Oh, because you were all hyped up, right?
Oh, that's never happened to me before or since. But the first time at 16 years old seeing From Dusk Till Dawn, and it was mostly his section of the movie that, you know what I mean? That where it got rolling.
Wheelhouse.
So, yeah. So I believe I believe in the guy. I just don't think I just think that we're just not to that point yet. We haven't really gone.
I thought we got a bit of it when he was in Thousand Oaks, you know, with Boba Fett on a rock. Like, I'm like, this is the most $6 million low budget fight area in the history of Star Wars. Like, in the history of Star Wars. But his kinetic action, right, and the aggression that he has in that scene this is the thing I personally believe Star Wars needs is more auteurship is when you can you see the director's hand behind the camera. Some people don't like it. When they see a Quentin Tarantino film, they go, I don't like it, I can hear it, it's Quentin Tarantino. I like that. I like to see the director's hand. If you're going to have multiple directors on Star Wars, each episode can have its own feel and tone. I don't like it when they're like, Amanda Burst directed this episode of Married Children, and it ain't no different than any other episode that ever was directed to Married. What does that matter? You know, I don't care. Or on Star Trek, I can't tell one episode directed from someone else.
It's like directing by a style guide almost. It's
yeah. I mean, I can see Kevin Smith's hands sometimes when he works on the CW stuff. Like, I can see it, you know? But other than that, I can't tell any other director. Now, when Rian Johansson came on Breaking Bad, you can tell Rian's on set. You know, you get the Fly episode, and it's not just the content. You can see the authorship behind it. And I think Star Wars, that you need that authorship. And this does not feel like Robert Rodriguez. This feels like a studio-driven project, you know? So it's fine. You know, it's fine. It's not bad. It's fine.
No, I mean, you bring up the most, to me, for me, the most valid point I've heard you make for me personally is that episode with Robert Rodriguez that he did of Mando, when, like, two things, two of my least and favorite moments going on at the same time, which is that planet that they go to is the least cool looking place I have ever seen in live action Star Wars. Even the fifth clone of Tatooine looks way better than whatever that was. Almost respect the ability to try something new. But then that moment when he shoots the rocket and hits the one lander and the other lander hits the other lander, and then he says, "I was aiming for the other one." That's like my favorite moment in the whole thing. Like that was fantastic. That the way that it was just so good. So it's like, I'm curious
if that's your audition, right? If you were like, "Hey, here's my demo tape to get on Star Wars," and you're like, "Oh man, we want this," and then you show up and you produce the studio. It feels like a rookie mistake. Like when I first started out, you know, you show examples, like comic book page examples of things you could do. And then when you get the job, like on t-shirts, oh, here's all the things I could do. And then when you show up to make a t-shirt, you're like, "This is how I roll toilet paper." And you're like, "What? Yeah, we got that already. Why we hire you?" You know, like, what were you bringing to the table, Rob? I mean, I see that from it's usually it stems from a lack of confidence. Why he couldn't possibly have a lack of confidence, you know? And so I wonder if, COVID aside, I don't want to hear the COVID thing when it comes to this. I wonder if they're playing it's the whole thing card a little too much in this case. Like, also never forget you have your audience here now. You know, never forget that, because when you play the whole we're gonna get to it later thing, it's like people that are like that later better be the best thing ever, man.
Yeah, the audience doesn't owe you patience for that long. That is correct. Super. I mean, and they really did that with the sequel trilogy, with like Rey's parentage and stuff like that.
1,000%. 1,000. That is the key mistake with that whole thing, is they're like, "Oh, later, the JJ later." Like, you don't. It's never gonna be as good. You're making it worse, man. You know, you're making it worse. Sometimes it can happen. Oh well, did Jason freeze up?
Did I?
Got a hiccup.
I don't know.
You're back, but you're low res. Okay.
I see fine on my end, but you never know.
Bobby said something pretty good. He goes, "I was thrown off by the title Daimyo right after or before being called a drug lord. They're not mutual. Vaquero and cowboy are the same thing regardless of language." But that is where, in the show, they had a chance in that room to explain the difference. You know, like, if they wanted to. Otherwise, it's a word that in this universe means essentially the same thing. So, you know, it's not the Earth term, it's their term. Or it's a chance for Fennec or the robot to explain to Boba, "Hey, you know what I mean? You're not a crime lord now. You're ruling over territory. You know, it's not quite what you thought it was." Yeah, like droid's not a protocol droid. So I'm trying to figure out, is he like is he like a maitre d, master dome, you know, domo? Like is he the guy who's supposed to explain to Boba what the job is? Like, beyond the callback, you know, like the
yeah, what I thought that was a little interesting too, Bobby. Like when I saw it, I actually didn't catch it until I watched it with subtitles, and you know, it's like does that have to do with how these people are perceiving themselves versus their reality? You know what I mean? Like because like we do kind of see that sort of going on. There's this whole false sense of what they are. Everybody knows what they really are, but they're all pretending to be other things, even down to the when the dude shows up and is like, oh, like, I'm being polite right now. He's really telling him, we're going to kill you, pay us or we're going to kill you. And so I'm curious to see what we think
and
about
who's the shogun in this case, if he's a daimyo, like because he's his own man. So like if you're generally like they're the daimyos were like the ones that collected the tariffs, right, for the king, right? Like in feudalism, it's feudalistic shit. So they're the ones that get all the money for the lands, for the estates, to hand to the shogun. But Boba is also the shogun. So really, in a way, Fennec would be more of the daimyo in this way, and Boba would be the shogun. So I'm trying to that's an opportunity for the show to explain what they mean by that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
Versus vagaries,
Yeah, and it just being like the first episode of Deadwood when everybody walks in and is like, "Hey, I'm the new cowboy in town," and which is what this kind of was.
Which is probably the fairest thing we've talked about since last night is like, look, sometimes first seasons and specifically first episodes are not the Breaking Bad pilot. The first season of Quantum Leap is really good first episode, and then Terry Hatcher dragging this whole thing down for an hour.
Richie, oh man, Terry Hatcher was hot back then. Richie
could not act in that episode.
But she's in that sweater. Man, I remember being like a teenager and watching that episode with her in that sweater, and I was like, man, that's a sweater. Anyways, Richie brings up a point that I wanted to make on the show for our catch. Please don't do that right now. Please. Anyways, we have that theme song, and in the theme song, we do hear a moment where we quote here Kira's Crimson Dawn theme. Number one, it's not called that. And so I'm not making an argument that Kira doesn't show up or does show up. What I am suggesting, what if that theme is simply the Underworld theme song of Star Wars?
Right.
What if that is all that ends up that leitmotif created by what's his name, Peter or something, for Solo: A Star Wars Story? What if that motif isn't the Crimson Dawn theme song? What if it's not anything other than the Star Wars Underworld one? And whenever we see criminals, whenever we get there, we're going to hear that song played throughout. That could simply be what we're dealing with here. I don't think so, but I think it's something that we should probably emotionally or mentally prepare for that potential eventuality. Yeah, that it could do that.
Everyone thought they were going to get John Powell from How to Train Your Dragon, like a rousing adventure theme.
Yeah.
Did not get that.
And then, although I'm starting to doubt that Kira or Solo will make an appearance, still think CB Black Wookie and OGBH from ESP. So I've seen the Wookiee. I can tell you that if the Wookiee was made, I know the Wookiee's coming. That that for me, if you believe me, I can.
Well, their gang has that 2L symbols, the Quake logo.
Right? What's that?
Putting the Quake logo. The Red Ninjas are spray painting the Quake logo on the building.
Thank you, Nolan. Something. Yeah, Nolan is John Powell.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, John Powell.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Yeah. So yeah, so I am super optimistic about it. I think it's going to be good. I think it's gonna get going. I think the second and third episode will probably start to really, really pick up a lot. I hope in the second episode we are like way up.
That's why I say it's a 3 out of 5. I mean, that's a pretty fair assessment. Like, well, I mean, the first episode of Mando is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. This is a 3 out of 5. It's fine. There's some dumb episodes of Mando. There's some cringy episodes of Mando where I'm like, ow, they don't do that again. Yeah. So it is what it is. I'm not complaining. It's not like I'm like, oh, next week I got to watch this. I felt watching Bad Batch that I'd seen everything these guys got to give. And they only proved me wrong once when they did that silent shot of all the clone temple.
Yeah.
The clone temple. The
The
Michelin plant.
It just turns out that if Bad Batch had been a 1 hour movie, it would have done everything it needed to do, and it would have been really good.
I was hoping A-Team.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 Bad Batch.
Yeah. No, same. But yeah, this on this one right here, you know, I just
okay.
I don't
Griffin,
know.
read this.
I want to say no. What I keep needing to get out of my head though, I need to get this out.
Okay.
Is that I had always heard that Boba and Obi-Wan were adaptations of story outlines from films. Obi-Wan went to a script. Boba didn't, but the outlines still stand. And so that breakdown was roughly 2 episodes per act. So the first 2 episodes are essentially act 1 of the story. Okay. And that's what I think we need to get in that headspace, that by episode 3, it better fucking feel like we're in act 2 or it's going to be bad.
Right.
That's where you know the show is just treading water and it's not.
If we're in agreement by episode 3 of a 7-episode series, if we're not in to what we're in, then what's the point? Right?
He needs to be. We need to know what was up with the Tuskens. He needs to be beyond that and on the fucking road to Bobadom.
This was my theory. What Peter Grove, I didn't want to deal with it last night because I had to think about it a bit more. But, you know, I was like, we got to see what's under those Tusken masks if he's living with them at some point. And then it popped in my head, the chick on the bike, what if that's the little kid? You know what I mean? Or the girl that he fought. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, what if the Tuskens are human under there? Like, they wore that wrapping, but we've never seen a Tusken without the wrappings.
I feel like she would have had if they did go that way, she would have had Enfys Nest style swoop bike as opposed to that little Vespa, which is adorable.
She's got poor taste. Like,
she's totally like, you know what? I'm leaving all this bone shit behind. I'm going with a Vespa.
Yeah, from bone to chrome.
Yeah.
But then it becomes Paper Moon, right? In a way, just a little bit older, but
again, they just can't let go of that Paper Moon.
Sarasan is he's so set on the Paper Moon bingo that I gotta bring it up, you know?
Yeah. I gotta go into the filter on our YouTube and block all of these words like FYI and VARK tech shit.
Yeah.
There's people, man.
I mean, I'm getting them, but yeah, you gotta block.
Yeah. No, I mean, we gotta block the word just so that way they don't even exist. But it's just, it's like, what are they trying to achieve? It's not going to do anything. So Peter says, I see that tribe getting wiped out or sacrificing themselves for Boba to escape.
The swoop kids or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
we saw that gang for a reason. You know, clearly Tuskens are not Jawas. They're like, oh, that whole place got burned up. We won't go steal all their stuff. Let's go find some desert water.
Yeah,
they got moisture evaporators right there. We just take their water. Like,
I mean, because two of the assumptions that it's fair to make is that Boba is now free to roam around without a collar around his neck or chained to a Rhodian. And he's one of them. He's probably the lowest person.
Find another Rhodian. Hold on, we got your Rhodian.
Well, but he knows that if those settlers, which Cammy and Fixer, are being captured by those toughs. So I'm thinking one of the first things he does with his agency is sort of a superhero thing, and he goes over there and he kicks their ass because he just he doesn't like bullies. At the end of the day, maybe he just doesn't like that. Or maybe he doesn't like that gang for some reason, but I think he's going to go and save them. But maybe in doing so, starts a war with the gang, becomes on that gang shit list, and that's actually what gets those Tuskens. They sneak attack them or something like that, because that gang, I didn't get the impression, could go up against those Tuskens in any kind of way at all, and really matter or really survive.
Yeah, they're picking on old people out in the.
So yeah, they're picking on Fixer and Cammy, you know. So they don't
Fixer and Cammy, you know.
Yeah. And they spray painted on the wall, which is pretty cool. They're like, this is our house now. But
Quake.
Yeah. But so yeah, something like that, something in those terms, you know, would probably happen. I mean, where else could they really go other than Boba begins to ascend up their rank, and then what does he have to do? Does he have to fight the king to become king, or the king has to kill him? Like we don't really know what their
I don't
what their
want to be a
structure
sand
is.
person. That's the family, the Godfather. Like, I reject that. I'm not a sand person. I'm a water person.
You know what I wanted to what I kind of wanted to see is, how they were like taking the water out of those things when I was watching it. I wanted the Tusken to put, how they have those two little things right here. I wanted to see him put like the thing on there and suck the moisture out of it. Like I wanted those to be like straws for sustenance or something. And
something on there then they're just drinking stuff. I'm like, so that just what's right.
Yeah, what is the, I don't know. I guess they can't breathe. I mean, my take is that they are creatures not truly native to the biome, and they may have been there for a long time, but they've adapted through technology. Because Star Wars is always going to be that mixture of.
They just don't want to pay taxes.
Savagery.
They're like, we're willing to wear anything.
Oh, they Joe Rogan that shit too at Texas.
yeah.
Turns out that fucking that's a huge podcast.
Joe Rogan, who wants political people to have a profit motive, like we should tie mayors' salaries to how much money they're making, and then doesn't trust pharmaceutical companies who make profit, like that fucking idiot. Like,
yeah.
I just like bro, when people try to tell me it's okay to do mushrooms and shit, I'm like, no, it makes you stupid. Like, let's just all agree it's not hurting society. I don't think it should be criminalized, but you become a fucking idiot. Like it damages brain cells.
Well, I have a family
Mephisto
member
confirmed. Red Dawn's Mephisto, right?
I have a family member who is down to take a Pfizer pill to go bone, but won't take a Pfizer vaccine because they're trying to kill you. It's like, if they were trying to kill you, they just put it in your boner pills, bud.
No. To be fair about Mephisto, we already got Clancy Brown as a Red Devil, so we're way past that option here in Star Wars.
I love Clancy Brown. Even I met Clancy Brown a few times. He's a very nice man.
I love him as the Red Devil. That's the devil character puppetry or makeup from New Hope or whatever was always that one in the Wolfman. I'm like, do more with that. It's so fucking weird and simple.
He is the fucking Kurgan, man. Like he should be the bad guy of the criminal underworld. He shouldn't be a stooge that the Mando knows.
Oh, right. The role
they're underusing Clancy Brown by not making him.
He should be the Shogun that Boba has to deal with running behind Tatooine. Like, you thought Jabba was in charge of shit? No.
Yeah,
the Red Devil.
Give Clancy Brown another gig and make it the fucking Kurgan in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like the equivalent of our General Kell, if you will, for the Willow fans who know what's coming for you in 2022. Sorry, I got all wrestling.
He's got a little crab dragon.
I don't know. I get all wrestling. I get all Iron Sheik about Willow.
I know. My favorite non-wrestler personality that is adopted kayfabe for a living is Buttercream Dream, right? That guy.
Buttercream Dream.
You don't know this? He's a progressive. He does political commentary, but he's the Buttercream Dream, right? Okay. It's just like his shtick is so good. He could have been like the best shitty fucking like wrestler, like promoter, cornet, but it's smart. And it's a great name, the Buttercream Dream.
It's a great name.
Skew, he does skew.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great name, man. I'm jealous. I didn't think of it.
for some reason, and like for some reason, I've been appreciating old wrestling more for whatever, as being like, that was hilarious. I don't know why, but
because I watched UFC.
Skywalker said, and it got her killed by Tusken Raiders. Think about it. She was picking mushrooms when she was murdered. Right?
It's Skyawaska.
He's like, I'm gonna get
Skywalker. It's Skyawaska. That's it's a mispronunciation.
The fucking crazy part is Khalil Lars walks on two legs when he's on the mushrooms. Explain that.
What was was it Mallrats? So you see a motherfucking when Jay goes, you'll see it was Clerks, right? Oh yeah, you'll see this and that, you'll see this too when you get doing my fucking fucking week. Yeah. Oh man, dude, Skyawaska. That's a good one, Ron.
Ayahuasca. Yeah. Well, whenever they start tripping out and seeing their father's face in a helmet that explodes, Skyawaska. Yeah. Yeah, and that is I really wouldn't I honestly would not give two shits if I watched this whole show and never saw a reference to a character who I've known before in an important way. Like Max Rebo is fun. It's not, I like it as fun. It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. But like, if I don't see Cad Bane, if I don't see Kira, Dengar, Bosk, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, like if I don't see any of them, I will be completely fine with that. But I do hope I see Cad Bane. I do hope. That's the one thing about that rumor is I wouldn't mind Kira having some relevance and being a thing. So that way Solo feels so much better to me when it doesn't feel like it's a closed door. And that would feel like it was more of an open door. It helps that movie for me.
And I hope they don't just job Cad Bane or kill him off in one episode or something. I mean, look, people got really invested in these characters that did well on an animated series. Now it's time to give them adventures to run around in the living flesh. And when you one and done it, it's like that Tim Burton moment where like you're gonna kill every Batman villain. Yeah, you know, like they all gotta die in one day. That's it. You know, like you know, that's why.
Yeah, no. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't hate on BB. Who's BB?
It's all Mortisark on acid is amazing. Yeah, I would not mind if they kill Cad Bane in live action. I think that that's a great place to kill him. But yeah, let's explore the guy and play with them in live action for a bit. Other than showdown, boom, goodbye. You know, like I mean, if he's out there, you know, in the Ahsoka episodes and stuff like that, living through, because I mean, especially if Boba Fett, you know, is this Boba Fett where he's at in this part of the timeline? A character like Cad Bane, I think, plays an important role in being a villain who you don't want coming after you. And Boba Fett right now, if he comes after you, it's like, oh, Boba Fett's coming after you. You did something bad. But in reality, we want to know that if there are rabid dogs out there that are coming for you and are coming from the heroes and stuff like that, that you are like, oh no, you know, about. And Cad Bane is a good character for that, a really good character for that.
Even sharks think they're top of the food chain until Eagle swoops down and grabs one out the water and takes off with it. You know, like there's always something hunting something else, you know. So
it's always a bigger fish is what Rob's trying to say.
I was waiting for you. James is like, that's great. Trilogy. The bigger fish trilogy. Right?
All right.
Ewan's already done the big fish. We could do the bigger fish trilogy. With the gold Qui-Gon.
I could not.
That's a new one.
Junkbox. I completely agree with you. The moment I was like, man, I love the performance of Obi-Wan Kenobi in that moment. In the moment, just by itself in Rebels is fantastic. But what I think it was a mistake to get there when they brought Maul back in Solo, a Star Wars story. I was like, man, oh, rad. And then I was like, oh, but he's dead. Like, whatever you want to take this, we know it has a very limited potentiality based off of the fact that if they killed him in that show, it was
unless Obi-Wan was tripping on Skywalker and then
yeah.
You know, he was Green Knighting it out in the desert. Ate some rooms and saw some.
I mean, and not to justify the mistake, I have a feeling it probably had to do with the fact that they were coming off of Maul was going to be the sequel trilogy villain under George Lucas. That wasn't liked and it was pushed aside. I think they were in a completely wrong headspace for dealing with Maul when they did, and that they shouldn't have done it at that point. It was a question on everybody's mind. What's up with Maul? Maul was never killed. He wasn't dealt with. Why isn't he in the sequel stuff? and they felt like they had to shut that door. But then Solo comes and opens it up for him as the king of the criminal underworld, pretty much. And man,
he had a twin Kitster.
A twin Kitster.
Now you have betrayed him too.
Okay, other question, Tara. If we are in Mos Espa, might we get the introduction of Kitster in this show? He wanted to be the major domo. I mean, also Sebulba. Has pod racing been closed down? Are we going to see a homeless Sebulba who is longing for the days of when he was a pod racing extraordinaire? Now,
Sebulba's in Jedi in the Blu-ray, right?
That's just one. It's not Sebulba himself.
Okay.
Back then, they confirmed that it was just a Doug, not the Doug.
The fact that they're called Dougs is great.
Doug.
This is the best. Look, Doug is just a great name. You know what I mean? Like, it was a cartoon Doug. You just call something Doug and you're immediately like, it's just, you can't.
I feel like a Doug bullied George Lucas and he's like, you know what? That's fucking Doug over there. That's Doug.
Yeah, well, he said, those were the actual words. He said, "Yo banta chanta pudu," and I was like, "Oh shit,"
Yeah,
they're so adorable, Dougs.
But
walk on their hands and they grab things with their feet.
Got camel, could probably spit pretty good. Yeah, I hope that I in terms of stupid callbacks, I'm at the max rebuild level. That I wouldn't mind that, but also it in Obi-Wan Kenobi, if that does end up being Kitster, they wouldn't show Kitster in this show because they aged, it's a decade and a half later. You know what I mean?
I'm not putting Kidstar on my Boba Fett bingo card. Just letting you know.
I just want Kitster, man. I just want like
bottom left corner, Rob. It's always a good, it's bottom left. Like you can put that right on the bottom left corner, Kitster.
I gotta say, Rick. Number one is that the Instagram thing was so bizarre, but I also don't think I even hate to bring it up. I feel like I'm maybe making it worse by bringing it up, but I don't feel like it was really that big of. I don't think most people know what that was, or you know what I mean. Or it was just a weird what the fuck is going on thing.
Ewan McGregor leaving his wife with his daughter mad at him was a bigger fucking story than.
But anyways, where I'm going with it is with Maul, I would love it to be Ray Park. I think it should be Ray Park. I just think whatever that was, I don't know. I don't understand it. But that said, you can put anybody in a devil clown makeup. And I'm even going to throw it out there that he didn't look that great in Solo: A Star Wars Story. I don't think that was an especially great looking Maul in Solo: A Star Wars Story.
I think there's a chance to make a Maul adjacent character, right? In the way that Mando is Boba adjacent, and Sam Witwer would be the dude for me. He's in fantastic shape. He can pull off that look.
Yeah, he was the voice. He was the voice. Yeah,
he's the voice.
In it, so he's already there. But
Witwer's the one I'd go with.
But I mean, it would. Yeah, I would even say. I mean, at the end of the day, though, depending on what level and what the plan is for Maul, that's where you take it whatever direction you need to. If he's going to be doing kick flips and shit, or not kick flips, that's not skateboarding. But if he's going to be flipping and doing fucking martial arts and stuff like that, then obviously you just find a really, really great martial artist who looks good in the makeup, and otherwise, if
don't
it's
allow
not,
whoever.
Yeah, don't let him have an Instagram. No.
Or I was gonna say, don't let whoever shot the fight sequences in Matrix Resurrections in charge.
Yeah, well, they did shoot most of it.
One under the bus,
but it was mostly from the waist up. So if his dick was out, it wouldn't even matter. I'm just saying.
You know, like in Fraggle Rock, when someone has to have Sprocket's tail separately, like in the background, it's someone waving Sprocket's tail. It's just like Maul's dick, and it's got horns on the end, so it's like it's like a Mace Windu.
Junkbox asks, "Don't know if you said so or not, but which is better, Boba's escape from Sarlacc in canon or in Legends?" I mean, not to be the guy who just likes the last thing he saw, but I never actually loved it in Legends. I was always just like, yeah, okay, like that's what happened. I just felt like it's what happened. And when my first time I ever when I first encountered that, was it Dark Empire? We learned he just gets out, Dengar helps him, and it's okay. I was okay with it. You know
The
what I mean?
scene in Kill Bill volume, was it 1? When she gets buried in the
Oh
box?
yeah, that's that
You
that that.
know, when she's
Yeah.
like got claustrophobia and she's breathing in the dark. That's just what I'm talking about. Now, it's when she does that, but then she gets it's goofy with the punching through the desert. But it works because of all that other stuff.
Sure.
If she just went right to that and punched through it and was like super badass, she'd be like, "Oh, this is stupid."
People have
but
ninja
because,
swords. Yeah.
but because she's like, man, dude, waking up on a pine box trap fucking 20 feet underground is like, honestly, man, like I don't
for me, it's not so much that I can't imagine or think of a better way to have that moment. For me, was that moment the story that they're telling? And that's, I think, an important designation to make. Did they want to tell the story of Boba getting out of the Sarlacc, or did they want to tell the story about Boba the Crime Lord? And I think they wanted to tell the story about Boba the Crime Lord. So that's why I'm not really holding it against them so much. You know what I mean? It wasn't what they were.
Sure, but that's the same argument one can make for Lucas saying, "Hey, I'm not telling a story about Anakin leaving his brother and going off on adventures and becoming a war. I'm telling a story about how democracy can fail and everyone's responsible about it." It's like, yeah, but this is what we all dreamt about. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we waited a long time for this, and you're telling another story. And now you're telling us how the one we thought wasn't as good. So you better be telling a fucking brilliant story. When this is done, it better be fucking brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
otherwise, it's gonna hang over the head over everything until they get to it.
But even in that analogy, which I see your point, but in that analogy, like you almost have to go with like he didn't even do it, but they did do it. Like in my head, what I'm trying to say is it was never like in my head once I like learned he lived, I just imagined that shit farting him out right away, like and he fucking goes oh. And he just climbs right out. Like it could have. I
guarantee you, it'll be in the Aural Knots edition.
Yeah,
and then I think that's the brilliant place for parody. Like that would be a fantastic scene to see in a parody. I think it's the best scene in the whole show when you wake up in there because it's terrifying. Like we are supposed to be with Boba Fett on this journey. He is the protagonist. We are with him. We are him, right? There's that transference. And that's the situation that I can't relate to in the desert with the little kid beating me up with the stick and wanting to scrounge for what I don't know, but being trapped in a horrible fucking situation like that, how would I get out? Anyone can imagine, like it's the most relatable moment. As crazy as it is, no one's going to be eaten by a Sarlacc.
I would have eaten my way out. I would have eaten my way out. That's all you could have done. Also, did you ever notice that Boba Fett, like remember in the Geonosian like Coliseum or whatever, there's just like those giant pussies, and they're like standing in giant pussies. Boba Fett and giant pussies is like it's kind of an ongoing theme here. So I'm wondering if he just has a friend who's a giant pussy too, or something. I'm wondering how they're gonna tie this all up.
Here's what's weird to me about volume work when they're in a desert. One, they're shooting in LA. Like the desert is 20 minutes. Like on the edge of town. Like, like an hour out. Like it's right out there. And even during COVID, like that's the perfect place to go shoot. Actually, in a small, contained space with volume is the worst place to shoot. So
a really hot outdoorsy place might be a good call. It did look like a filler or rush or show or rush. I hope it has a bigger scope rather than like a TV show. Yeah, that's the thing about these is like I guess where I'm going with it is that number one is I do like it encroaches on cinematic quality, but I also not really gonna say that this like Loki and shit like that didn't really look any better to me. It looked very much like a product of its day right now. And is that something that shakes out well or not in the big picture? I think is the big question, you know?
Yeah. I think the difference with Loki, because someone asked that, what does this compare to Loki? I'm like, well, if Loki's removed from the MCU, and this is a story about a character, a person who went to purgatory and has to deal with variants of himself in different multiverses that have been causing trouble, right? And there's a whole agency that's designed to deal with you, and you didn't know that, that would still be talked about.
Yeah.
It had a good aesthetic design. The mixing of 70s and 60s tech with that premise works. Whether that's why it was a shame when they showed so many clips of the Avengers in that episode. I'm like, this doesn't have to. You don't need this. This is good without that. That's my complaint about that first episode. Here, if I said it's a science fiction show, this dude's going to become a crime lord, you'd be looking at it like, all right, you know what I mean? How many more episodes? I'm gonna wait till next. All right, get back to me. We'll see. I'd wait to see what the verdict was before I'd continue with this, you know?
Yeah, same. I mean, there is definitely like in a lot of like the Loki stuff, the like stage play amount in the depth and stuff like that keeps you not noticing that kind of jazz.
The lighting's fantastic.
But I also
made a Walmart look fucking amazing.
No, but I also have to say one of the things that has really become more apparent to me. Jabba's palace looks super cheap and stagey, and you don't really notice it when it's full of a bunch of monsters and it's on film stock and you're a kid.
Except for the one shot in Jedi where they pull that curtain. And even as a kid, I was like, this is like Chuck E. Cheese. Like, not the main room where they sing, but you know, they'd have like 2 other rooms for birthday parties you'd see, and it was like the little area, like a little curtain.
My McDonald's has that little section in the back, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Little birthday party,
like the little one?
The little birthday party room.
Birthday party room.
Yeah. But it's like yeah.
We would always have have like 1 or 2 of the things, but I was always like, all those guys are hiding back there. Like I always wanted them to do like a comic where it's just behind the curtain part where like,
yeah,
what she doing? Like,
but yeah, it's always I just think that at the same time, it is just important to remember that this is a TV show. Like it is weird to get mad that a TV show looks like a TV show or to be hypercritical of it. I think what it ends up, I think what the where it all needs to go is, should they be making films? Should this not be a TV show? There's all the positive sides of having a TV show in terms of exploration of events and time to breathe and deal with things in a deeper way. At the same time, what is the cost? And the cost is that you, in some ways, lose that cinematic quality. That's when things are working at a 10, it doesn't matter. But when if anything is just above average, then it becomes, I think, kind of an issue of, should the Boba thing just have been a film the whole time? And after it's done, we'll know. Yeah.
That comes down to that their sequence for this, their big sequence was the Harryhausen monster. And I feel like that is going to be, I'm into I love it, but it's going to be 50-50 on whether, because it wasn't
people aren't getting
particularly great fight. They're getting the reference. It wasn't a particularly wonderful fight. Not that it needed to be, but you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
If
Richie says Lucasfilm probably put time and money into Kenobi, make it look more like a movie rather than a TV show. Yes, we will know when we see it. Yeah, honestly, completely an irrelevant thing. They're just their productions. Penny, you are fired.
What'd she do?
You
sound.
Benny,
you're on the mic now.
Oh, baby. Yeah, please, yes. Yeah. Push it back in. Thank you. All right. We can go back to the future now.
It was my head.
It was you being a crazy punk. A crazy punk. I'm taking you to the fire station after this. I'm dropping you off at the fire station.
I was gonna say like Stanley Spadowski, where you get in front of the fire hydrant. What?
Yeah. So, anyways, is my sound back on my thing or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Never. You're bothering me. Get lost, kid. I don't know you. I'm not your father. I don't know you. I don't know. Maybe never. Okay. Anyways, I guess we are over time now, and this kid is bothering me. She wants a parent. She wants a father. She wants somebody to love her and put food on the table for her. And it's just like, oh man,
I gotta be honest with you,
Penny, it was a few years ago. Your mom looked good, and I had a couple of drinks, and now here you are.
Jason, don't.
It was a mistake.
Just cut the feed. It's too much. You're going too far. It's those lights blinking really are helping this moment.
But one last thing. Okay, hold on, Penny. Then me and you will have lunch. Okay, we'll talk about your future. Jones says, "What is the big threat?" Also, Mando has cinematic quality. I honestly don't personally feel other than the stagey look of Jabba's palace. I feel like Mando is getting a huge pass from all of you guys, and I don't quite understand it. It's the same shit.
Oh no, I complained. The Mando, they turned Mando into, an episode per episode mission, save the people. It was like Yojimbo, the good guy Yojimbo.
Cinematic quality. I think they mean like in look, and I think that personally,
no, there were some great moments in it. But we already had a discussion. This whole episode takes place at high noon. This whole episode takes place at high noon in the desert, guys. It would have look. This is where using some filters and some acid wash and a little bit of like color grading to go beyond how a desert actually looks would have helped.
Right?
Because high noon, blue sky, white sand only get you so far.
Yeah,
some film grain, some chromatic aberrations.
I mean, like the number one, the monster is supposed to look like that. The monster is a throwback to classic Star Wars stuff. So that if people don't get that, then they just don't get it. It's their fucking problem. But their problem. I didn't say the F word, Penny, right? Teddy doesn't say the F word. Anyways, it would just be simply that's that. Jabba's palace does look stagey, but that's a pretty much a accurate replication of Jabba's palace. That looks just like Jabba's palace to me. It feels like it when you watch from Star Wars: The Jedi. It really is that, and maybe it should be more now. But also when it comes in terms of like Mando, it's mostly the same. Everything's the same. It's the same crew. It's the same set. It's the same place. The same everything. Robert Rodriguez, he was on that one too. But also, it might be Robert Rodriguez. Maybe that's what people. I mean, I will say that his moment in Mando doesn't look that cinematic when he gets out to that location. So it might just be Robert Rodriguez. Might be that might be the one.
Who directs the next episode? Is it still Robert Rodriguez? Did he do the first?
We don't know what the breakdown of the order is. I think we have Rodriguez doing 3 of the 7 right now. Is if that article was accurate, and so I'm guessing it would be something like first, middle, and last. But he may do the first 2 and the last one, or he may do the first one.
On the Mando, I felt. Right. Well, on Mando, I also felt some scenes were overlit. So what I've done on my TV is I have a Mando setting where I crank down the brightness and up some of the contrast. Yeah. So it crushes some of the blacks and raises some of the peaks a little bit. And it creates a better contrast to shadow ratio. Then so like my memory of the Mando also has to do with my personal settings on the TV to make it look more more Kirshner or more Ivan Kirshner than A New Hope, So.
Yeah. But Jones asks, what is the big threat? And right now, the big threat, the big what's next is going to war with the mayor. The mayor of Mos Espa has clearly been the person who is not going to go with it. And that's where we're at right now.
It should have added the 80s film stock, Daniel. That's what I'm saying. I think
it's not shot or lit for 80s film stock, and it's not being graded to match it, so it will look different. Yeah, and maybe this is one of those kinds of things where we haven't seen a lot of that. Maybe we don't really know what works until we've done it, and maybe that's going to be the cross to bear for Rodriguez and the Book of Boba Fett in the end. I don't know. we'll have to see. I do like it though.
It's fine.
I mean, I liked it. I had a good time. I enjoyed it, and yeah, so I'll have to see. But I gotta go because this kid right here is driving me crazy. All right.
And we talked about it. Very little tangents. See?
Yeah, I think we were. I think we've done a lot of it. You know.
Maybe.
Tomorrow back to random anime. And
Murphquake says hi, Penny.
Okay.
Say, hello, Mr. Murph.
no, it's not only one episode. It's a life. It's a life, Gerald.
It's
such a Filoni name. My Ged Gerald Jones.
Oh, hey,
is it Jed Gerald or is
now?
it Ged Gerald? Ged Gerald Jones. He's the big bad of Boba.
He gonna get it.
Gerald Jones.
He gonna get it.
But it's not just one episode. We put like 4 episodes of content. We just edit it down to one episode. So you don't really know what we're doing. You
All
think
right.
you can see it, but you don't know. All right, everybody.
All right,
Hanging
Filoni.
out.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk about whatever Star Wars news is going on.
Well, our code name for episode 2 is Chapter 2 Murphquake. Just so you know, if you don't
I'm
know,
gonna
it's
drop her off at the
Murphquake,
fire station.
Chapter 2.
No.
So that way I can do whatever podcast I want.
No.
Okay.
This isn't a podcast.
The next name for an episode is Dune Piercer. It's not. It's a little punky, but we keeping it in the sand. So you know
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, I'm a cartoon depiction of Jason Ward. You can support the show on patreon.com/MakingStarWars or on YouTube by becoming a channel member. It hurts to be a cartoon. It's very painful, in fact. But know that every time this channel gains a supporter, a little piece of my soul leaves this toon universe and returns to Jason, making us whole again. This show will always be free, but it's never been free to create. If you think it deserves it, become a channel member or a Patreon supporter. Thank you for the support. Please, help me die.
It's not about spaceships.
Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show.
It's not about spaceships.
The official book of Boba Fett just tweeted out, "Speak freely, but don't spoil the